Thanks, Jussi, and thank you, Business Oulu. Hello, everybody. Uh, Mikko Peltola, nice to be here. Let's talk about AI. What's your name? Arto. You interested in AI? Okay. What about the lady there? Kati? Interested in AI? That's great. You're in the right place, but I've sad news. AI is not interested in you. None of us. Actually, AI is quite a mean guy. He is working hard to replace our jobs. So within the next 20 years, everybody on the right-hand side of the room, your jobs will be gone. And if we think about it, we kind of had this coming. We deserve this. It's people like you and me. We've been working on automating other people's jobs throughout the history. So if we start from the Industrial Revolution, we brought people from the countryside to work with the steam engines and manufacture things. And the working class was born. Then the electronics were invented, and we moved the factories into mass production lines. That pretty much replaced the work of craftsmen. You didn't need to have a blacksmith anymore to do single items. Cars were not manufactured like by experts piece by piece, but it was all heading towards the automation. And in the more recent years, computers and automation have done the same. At the same time, of course, new jobs have always been created. So the Industrial Revolution created machine work, and then the computer work generated the software development industry. Millions and millions of developers. Now what's going to happen is that AI is coming after you and me, people who do our kind of work. And I don't know where those new jobs will be generated in the process. And if you think about it, like what has changed in the past year? ChatGPT came to all our awareness in less than a year, and it became the fastest growing application across the industries. Already before ChatGPT, about 75% of the work could be automated. There's like tools, there's potential to automate the work. And AI is not a new concept. So different flavors of AI have been around, and they have been replacing tasks. So if you take, for example, data processing, already before ChatGPT, 3/4 of the data processing work could be automated. The ChatGPT and the generative AI only increased that number to 90, so from 73 to 91%. But what happened to work that we do? So if you think about it, there are many engineers here, business people, maybe some lawyers, some doctors. So we apply expertise in our daily work. We communicate with other stakeholders. We are managing other people and leading other people. And these are the kind of tasks that will be kind of replaced by the ChatGPT and the generative AI. So management alone, it went from 15% automation potential to 50%. And if we take the overall, the kind of business and legal profession, that automation potential went from 30% to 60%. Well, potential is one thing, but what's going to happen in reality? And the McKinsey's average estimate is that year 2045, 50% of our work, business and legal professionals, our work will be replaced by the AI. And that's why I say that the right-hand side of the room, your job will be gone in 20 years. And for people like me, if I think back 20 years, I think that was 1980s, but it was 2003. So it's scary how close it is that all of this will happen. So the topic of today is future landscape. So this was a more personal perspective. What's going to happen to our lives, our profession? But if we start looking more into the opportunities that this creates, I want to be inclusive here. Our approach at A-CX is being approachable. We try to research, investigate, and build AI so that it's more approachable for us. So let's take a couple of concepts here. So when we talk about generative AI and the text part of that, we talk about large language models. And this may be familiar for some of you, but maybe not all of you. So ChatGPT and other large language model-based AI technologies, they are large. And large is not something like it takes a long time for you and me to build, but this means that the biggest companies in the world are investing tens of billions into this work. And how they train these models is that they take every accessible information. So ChatGPT is trained with the equivalent of hundreds of Wikipedias or hundreds of millions of novels. So basically any information they could find online or wherever has been fed into that model. It's learning, large language model is learning the language, how language is put together rather than just like one language at a time. So syntax, semantics, context, they go all into training that model. And that's why they don't just learn like Finnish, Swedish, and English, but also computing languages. So they are fluent in Java and C++, and they can even crack quite surprising areas like DNA or genetic code or Wi-Fi signals. So anything that has a structure in it, large language models can tackle. And they are based on deep neural networks, so quite complex stuff. Let's not go there, I can explain that for you. How does it work? That I can explain, because I was thinking, how can I make this approachable? And if you think about the Hangman, the game that we played when we were kids, that is a very, very simple like example of a large language model. So you have a simple set of rules. You know the length of the word, you know whether there are vowels, and then you can get like hints whether you have some consonants there or not. And that's how, pretty much like how predictive text is working. So if you're sending a text message with your iPhone, you can have the prediction on, and it's predicting the next word. And large language model is just a very, very complex and big way of doing this. So it's not intelligent, it is just guessing what is the highest probability for the next word in this sentence that I'm building. So you can say, my name is Bond, and it knows that the normal response from a person is, my name is Bond, James Bond. Or if I say that I'm Jack Sparrow, it's going to correct you, I'm Captain Jack Sparrow, savvy. We're not going to stay in the geeky zone too long. Another example or explanation. What does the ChatGPT mean? And this is like one of the biggest ironies of our time. This system is going to replace the marketing professional, and yet it comes with such a clumsy name, ChatGPT. So if there are any marketing professionals in the room, we need your help in this AI space. So first thing is that it has a chat interface. And that is quite a fundamental change. If you think about when many of you started with computers, you had to speak computer. You had to say cd ... to change directory. Then somebody came up with the graphical user interfaces, where a designer is thinking, how do I represent something in a like graphical way? And then the user is guessing, like, what did the designer think, and where is the right icon for what I want to do? And now we can just use our natural language and talk. So it sounds simple, but it is quite revolutionary how intuitive and easy it makes things. There are many flavors of AI. This is a generative part of the flavor, so that's where the generative name comes. It's a probabilistic model, like we explained, just guessing what is the next word or how to put the pixels together to form a picture or video. These models are pre-trained, so all that heavy lifting that the Microsofts and OpenAIs and Googles have done goes to pre-training the model, but they are not experts on anything. So if you want them to understand the specifics of your company, their data set is limited and only goes back like 2021. They are not experts in your product. You can add that flavor there. One thing that is kind of deceiving in them is that they are quite convincing. They will give you an answer whether they actually know it or not. So you need to use your own discretion when reading the answer that, okay, is this actually something I want to present forward? And one thing about this architecture, it hasn't been around that long. So AI has been around for a long time, but the transformer architecture that ChatGPT and other technologies are based on is only introduced 2017. So that gives another level of appreciation how fast things have moved. The whole architecture was invented a few years ago, and now we see new products coming out every day. So let me introduce myself and my company a little bit more. So I'm Mikko, and together with Ilpo and Claudio, we founded A-CX just when the pandemic started. It's a great time to start a new company. I can recommend that. And then we have Risto here. He's heading our European operations. So Ilpo and Risto are here with me today. If you want to ask questions or anything, grab us over the lunch or over the coffee or at the Oktoberfest in the evening if you're joining there. What we do is that we help progressive companies build better solutions, better products. Like Jussi introduced, I have a Nokia background, so does Ilpo. We have all been building products, good products and bad products in our history. And There was Pasi mentioned earlier about this 10-to-1 ratio, how much easier it's going to be to build code in the future. In my view, a lot more goes into building the winning product. You need to research, you need to understand the user. You need to think about what are the pains and gains. What pains can you remove? What gains can you bring forward? You need to build a compelling UI and then a secure, scalable backend. And this is stuff that we do at A-CX. We have focused on these more challenging or compelling value propositions like VR. We've been using VR in our in-house operations over 2 years. So every day we have a leadership team meeting in the morning, we go to VR. And AI is another one where we have a lot of experience and excitement. Good. So let's go back to the landscape and who stands to benefit of this AI. I mean, the early part of the presentation was that we are pretty much victims and somebody's taking away our job, but surely there is something positive in this, all of this as well. So this is what success looked like 20 years ago. I'm sure many of you recognize the Ritsola brothers and the Lamborghini Diablos. And the reason I'm bringing this up here is that up until last year, this was the biggest technology shift of our lifetime, going online. So if there was something that our generation would be remembered for, we were the generation that went online. Now AI is kind of taking that claim. It is the biggest technology transition. The older I get, the more I like to look into the history. And I think there are many things that we can learn from the previous transformations or revolutions. And if we go back just over 20 years into this online revolution, this is the image we have in mind. So it was like big tech companies are doing something revolutionary, something that nobody ever heard of, and the others are pretty much like bystanders. And sure enough, something's changed. So who knew that having a vast amount of unstructured data required a search engine, and Google was the one who cracked that. And for some reason afterwards, Google decided that they're not going to make it a paid service, but it's going to be advertising funded, and that changed the whole advertising game. So it's like a flow of decisions, and those changed and transformed industries. Entertainment. So Blockbuster had 9,000 stores at the peak of its glory, and now they have one. Netflix, their original business model was to ship physical DVDs, and they transformed with times, and now they are the giant of the entertainment. So many of these industries were revolutionized, and some big companies were born, but I claim that there is even bigger thing that happened in the background, and it is that going online changed every company. I challenge you to find any meaningful company that doesn't have online presence. And that change is much bigger than putting together the Google and the AWS and Netflix and those tech revolution giants that we think about when we think about the online revolution. And the same thing is going to happen with the AI. Surely there are going to be some rockstar companies and something that we never imagined, and that's what's going to steal the headlines. But the real opportunity is in every company that we are working today. How can we benefit? How can we take that into use? So what do companies want out of AI? This is a McKinsey study, and the question was that what is the prime objective of the AI? 32%, so 1/3 of the companies said that it is cutting cost. And I think that's quite good news for us, because at least in Finland, it seems to be that everybody's preparing for the recession. We're just thinking how to save money. So at least my thinking was that, is there room for AI if everybody's just looking at how to cut the cost? But clearly there is. You can find use cases for AI that are self-funding, that are saving the money, so you can, even in the middle of a recession, you can find money for those. 68% of the companies, so 2/3, were after increasing the revenues of their current business, innovating new businesses, or better products that they can then charge more or sell more. But 1/3 primarily focused on cost. Of course, more companies had cost as a top 3 driver or so. It was interesting that this is a popular slide today. So Pasi showed the same slide. Let's look at this a little bit different perspective. So let's recap. 75% of the total annual impact of generative AI goes into a handful of use cases. And I marked with red the ones that are more like human language, like communication, sales, marketing, customer support. That's what it is. We are communicating with other people, the value propositions, the pricings, the problems, and so on. And like we concluded, the LLMs are very good at understanding Java and C++ and so on. So software development, either in the IT in-house use or for selling, building sellable products, that's something that's going to be touched a lot by the AI. And the scale is quite mind-boggling. So we're talking about these dots on the top end of the chart. It's like $300 to $500 billion annual impact. And for comparison, the Finnish GDP is 300 billion. Or if there is any Americans in the audience, the Washington state GDP is somewhere in the 500 billion range. On the x-axis, there's another thing, the percentage of functional spend. So while both sales and customer operations are somewhere like 400, $500 billion range, as a percentage, customer operations is almost 40%. So almost 40% of the customer operation spend is something that can be replaced with AI or impacted with AI. Good. So if this is the landscape, what can we do to reshape it? Like, how can we then benefit out of this? This is a good representation by Gartner on the buy versus build. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it's a good way of capturing the AI the space. On the left-hand side, we have here the kind of pure buy play. So if you think about like the most common use cases, every company does some kind of sales and marketing. And nowadays, after the online revolution, every company is a software company. So what we can expect is that there is going to be a lot of commercial offering in this space. Microsoft is going to bring the Copilot, Salesforce is going to integrate AI into the CRM, and so forth. And there is nothing wrong using those commercial products. You may not be changing the world, but if you don't get there, somebody else will do it in your industry and you will be disadvantaged. So what do you need to pay attention in this kind of buy end of the things? It is that technology is just the tip of the iceberg. Much bigger impact is going to be changing the people and the processes. And this is another study by McKinsey where they looked at companies who have already taken AI into use. So this is not speculative data, what people expect. This is what companies are reporting back. And 15% of the companies expect that AI will increase the number of employees. 3 times that number of companies believe that they will be reducing the number of employees. So we talked earlier about saving cost. Saving cost comes with a cost. It is you need to let people go or lower your workforce, but it is a way of saving and finding like better business case for the company. Maybe the most interesting one of these, that I found most interesting, is the need to re-educate. And this 56% number, I need to explain it. It's a little bit challenging. So 56% of the companies believe that at least 10% of their workforce needs to be retrained. And that's quite a lot. And that's like in next 3 years' time. So if we are at the beginning of this change curve, and over half the companies think that 10% of my people need to be reskilled within the next 3 years, it's a massive shift. Because it's not only the enthusiasts like us here thinking like, how can we move forward? You need to start dragging also the people who are maybe not so eager to move, adopt new technologies, change the way they work. And of course, these are not going to match. You're going to need some new people, and you need to be like letting go or retraining some of the people who are maybe not up for the task. Let's move on then a little bit to the right-hand side, and this is personally for me the most exciting space. So this is where you're not just taking like off-the-shelf software into use, but you can start building something, either to improve your own IT and your own tech stack, or maybe even a product that you can sell to the others. Let's look at the embed, the second column there first. So everything in the dark blue is provided by somebody else. You remember the big boys are investing tens of billions. They built the tech stack. They built the GPUs. They built the large language models. They provide all of that. And remember, they are in a land grabbing mode. So they are over-investing here. They want you to be in the Microsoft ecosystem or the Google ecosystem or something like that. And I worked with Nokia and Microsoft trying to build a third ecosystem after Android and Apple had built their own. And I can tell it's not easy to be a late entrant into ecosystem game. So somebody else is taking care of the blue parts. And you look at it that I only need an application. That sounds easy, right? And that's exactly the wrong way of looking at it. You can't take something that's ready and just say, I need the application. You need to think the words of Steve Jobs, that you need to look at the user experience and work your way into the technology, not the other way around. So you need to understand what are the pains I can solve, what are the gains I can bring, what kind of solution can I build on top of that. It needs the front end, it needs a secure, scalable back end, and then AI may or may not play a role there. So you may be able to solve some problems better with AI that you bring into the solution. And then you build a winning product that happens to be an AI-enhanced product. We like to talk about AI-enhanced products or solutions, not AI products, AI solutions. Because it's too much emphasis on the technology. We need to think about the user, the customer first. Then the next one here is extend, and you see that there is a box there called data retrieval and prompt engineering that is opened up. So it belongs to you if you operate in this model. And when you start introducing AI into your products, you want to do that from the simplest layer first. So if you can do things by manipulating the prompts, so the question that you send for the AI, it requires much less investment and much less technology understanding. And terms like prompt engineering may be familiar for you. So you're looking at either educating the end users to ask right kind of questions, or behind the scenes somebody's manipulating the request. So maybe making sure that they filter all the inappropriate stuff, or they keep the response in a certain length, or in a certain tone, so that it matches your corporate tonality. So that's about the prompts. Then if you need to turn like a pre-trained model into specialist, understanding the specifics of your product, your company, you may be looking into data retrieval. At that point, you're not touching the underlying machine, the large language model, but you are augmenting that with your own data. And that's quite simple thing, relatively simple thing to do. So you can take data from the public sources, whatever your data sources are, and let that operate alongside the large language model. So when it provides an answer, it's also using your specific data. And data is very important. If you don't have good quality data there, you cannot expect good quality answers. Then further right, I kind of graded out. There's a possibility of doing fine-tuning. That's when you start opening up the large language model. You take some of those layers in the neural network and you repurpose them, you fine-tune them or retrain them. And that's definitely an option. It's just like heavier engineering work. And that's like taking your engine under the hood and you start tinkering with that. And then one day when you want to upgrade your engine, that tinkering work pretty much goes to waste and you need to start from beginning. Whereas the lighter ways of doing it, you can reuse more of the effort that you have done. Let's look at the build model. So don't go there. If you have the capability of building your large language model, you know it. You probably work for one of the few companies in the world who has the financial muscle to go there. If somebody in your organization suggested, let's build our own large language model, just don't. Now, one interesting thing is going to be then like, where do we find all the people to do all of this work? So if every company is going to be touched by AI, where does the knowledge come from? So you may have very capable of guys in your own organization, but they are not necessarily experts in the data science or AI engineering or building secure backend or any of this stuff. And this is, AI is one of the heaviest partnered areas. So 67% of companies, when asked which areas you plan to use more outside resources, said AI is a space where they plan to use more expertise help from the outside. Only 8% of the companies who are working in AI said that they plan to use outside help less. So let's go back to this picture. You remember 75% of the use cases, 75% of the AI benefit was just under the 6 top use cases. And here we have opened it up a little bit more. So you see marketing and sales and software engineering are the columns that I highlighted here. Every company has sales, every company is a software company. So they are kind of obvious slots where to go to. After that, it starts to get more sporadic. So you need to look like vertical by vertical and function by function. So banking is a hotbed for customer operations. It's a dark blue area here, high impact. There is going to be $400 billion annual IE spend or benefits in that space. But banking is not hot on product R&D. In the next row, pharmaceuticals and medical products, it's actually the opposite. So R&D is going to be a hotbed, but not so much on the customer operations. And this is now starting to be that if you want to do an impact, make an impact with AI, you may be looking at the most common use case to get started. If you want to make build sustainable difference, you may be looking into this kind of matrix and thinking, okay, do I want to go to a hotbed area, or do I want to go to an area where there's maybe not so much competition? But even the light blue areas here are tens of billions of dollars of annual spend. So AI spend is going to be so huge that there is going to be opportunities everywhere. It's just like spotting the ones where you have the most best capability for success. So how to go forward from here? As I mentioned, approachable AI is our theme. We want to make AI approachable. We have recorded topics where we go much deeper than what we can cover in this half an hour. So if you want to learn the basics of AI, or if there's somebody in the organization, we have made a recording of that. If you want to learn more how to customize your AI, about the prompts and the retrieval and the fine-tuning, we made a module of that. If you want to dive deeper into the costs, so you can predict what kind of costs and pricing models to have, we built a module for that. And then we have covered the cybersecurity and the legal aspects as well. And as happened 21 years ago or something, all the companies went online, and of course we are online as well. So you can find our case studies, you can find our blog posts and all the material through our homepage. And now this is a unique opportunity, so we're not just online, but we are here in person. So by all means, if you have a question, if you want to talk, find me, find Ilpo and Risto, let's have a chat over the coffee. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mikko. Excellent, insightful, and indeed very, very informative presentation. Kiitoksia.
Kiitoksia.